Hello, welcome to Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube, and it's the latest edition here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Welcome again. Welcome again. There's a lot to unpack for you. There's a lot of updates to give you here. There's fresh updates here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube, and that's exactly why we are here. And you know that this is your home of all the sports updates here on YouTube. So, of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel, it's imperative that you subscribe to the channel. And of course, you do turn on notification. But we want to hear from you as well. So if you have any divergent view, if you think otherwise of anything that we say here, we want to hear from you. Send us a notification now. Send us a comment in there. Comment on something. Let us hear from you. Because of course, it's imperative that we do hear from you. It's a lot to unpack here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. While you subscribe to the channel, make sure you turn on notification. And in there, make sure you do choose all. The first bit of the conversation is that Chelsea have been reserved a seat tomorrow in a big cup game in Europe. I'll tell you about a big cup game and why Chelsea have been reserved a seat. Stick and stay with me. We'll talk about all of that stuff. There's also the bit about Thomas Tuchel, who, if Chelsea end up sacking Mauricio Pochettino, may come back as Chelsea manager. We'll talk about that bit also later. There's a lot to talk about with Erik ten Hag, Manchester United, what Chelsea want to do. The bit about in there's a picture I've seen that Nicholas Jackson has posted on Instagram, and I think that is worth discussing. It puts into perspective exactly what Chelsea have been wanted to do, and what I said earlier in the morning, that there's a lot of positives in the team. The team are together. They are not necessarily away from each other. They stick by each other. They believe that they can do a lot of exciting stuff together. So stick and stay. We'll get into the bits, but let's start from this. So tomorrow there's the Lisbon derby. Then there is Sporting Lisbon versus Benfica. And you know, in Portugal, these are the two big teams. And you remember when Todd Boehly and Baghdad Eghbali bought Chelsea Football Club, one of the things that they sought to do was to make sure that they were going to make sure that they prize away some of the best talent in the world. And you remember that Enzo Fernandez saga, where Baghdad Eghbali actually stayed in Portugal for a very long time during that final transfer window day to make sure that he finalizes the deal for Enzo Fernandez. I think it's a scene that's going to happen for the striker that Chelsea are possibly going to get in the summer. Possibly going to get a striker in the summer. And the first striking name that is coming up is Victor Gyökeres. The guy that was with Coventry about just a season or two ago in a championship, and now with Sporting Lisbon under Ruben Amorim. I mean, a lot of people are speaking about Amorim's qualities in developing young players, and people say that, okay, a lot of the people that are pro bringing Amorim to Chelsea are saying that he's the kind of player, the kind of coach that develops young talent. And if you want to build a project for the long term, then you get somebody like Amorim, who is young, who is charismatic, who is more exuberant, who that is versatile in his approach to games, and then also does a very good job in terms of developing these young talents. And that's what people have pointed out to Amorim. Whilst that is not clear, I mean, it's not certain that Chelsea are going to let Mauricio Pochettino go. It's not certain that Chelsea are even going to look at Amorim should Pochettino go. But what is clear is that tomorrow, Chelsea have been saved a seat at Sporting Lisbon in a game against Benfica. And in that game, it's going to be Benfica versus Sporting Lisbon. There are two things that Chelsea possibly are going to look at. One, Victor Gyökeres, the possible striker that Chelsea want to get in the summer. And then also, Ruben Amorim, that can be one of the possible replacements should Mauricio Pochettino leave. Now, one of the things you ought to understand is that while Chelsea haven't necessarily called it off on Mauricio Pochettino, there's a tendency that they start looking out for possible options if it gets to that point. I mean, it hasn't gotten there, but there's a possibility that in the summer, Pochettino himself might say, you know what, I can't do this any longer, I want to walk. And then he ends up walking. And hence, Chelsea begin to speak to people. And one of the close names that Chelsea are looking at is Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim. And I told you why. Because he's young, he's versatile, he's exuberant, he's charismatic. They believe that he's a player developer as well. And if they get him for the Chelsea project, obviously, he's going to add more quality to the Chelsea team and develop those players for the next level. And that's good. Now, whilst just staying in the context of Chelsea, there's a picture from Nicholas Jackson's Instagram that's come out. And it's a picture of Chelsea team in a huddle whilst they were going to prepare to go and play against Liverpool. And according to Nicolas Jackson, they gave it all, they put in a fight, they let it all on the field of play, but sometimes you just get unlucky. And it tells how much quality and togetherness the boys had in this game against Liverpool, whilst they believed strongly that they were going to go on and win that trophy. Of course, it did not happen. Of course, it happens in world football where sometimes you just don't do enough to annex a trophy. And that's maybe it, Chelsea, because maybe they just didn't do enough to get that trophy that they were chasing so hard against Liverpool when they went to play against them in the Carabao Cup final. But Nicolas Jackson puts it so succinctly and says that painful, but we kept fighting the team. We kept fighting for the team. We need your support. And I think that is brilliant from Nicolas Jackson. So yesterday, Kylian Mbappe met the entourage from Qatar. They met the Emir of Qatar. They met Sheikh Al Thani. And like I told you hours before, the reason why Sheikh Al Thani came to France is because of their long-lasting allies relationship with France. And that meeting was in a bid to try and get some reach some truce for France. They wanted to reach a truce. In the truce that they wanted to reach is because Palestine, Hamas, Israel are at crossroads, and they want to find a way to make sure that the war is paused because the holy month of Ramadan is coming. They want to make sure that that is paused. Once that is paused, then the people in Palestine who are largely Sunni Muslims will get some time to, pray to their God in the holy month of Ramadan. And that's exactly why the Emir of Qatar ended up in France. And he went there, of course. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, did set up a state dinner for him. He invited him, and it was amongst those guests where Kylian Mbappe was invited. And in there, you can tell clearly that Mbappe was excited to meet the Emir of Qatar, but nothing substantial. The meeting didn't tell that Mbappe was going to change his mind to still play for Paris Saint-Germain. Qatar and France have been long-lasting allies. It's important, and both of them have been key players in the brokering of a deal for a truce between Israel and Hamas and in Palestine. And of course, Mbappe was just a collateral damage, if for want of a better word, in there. But of course, other people that were invited, and Mbappe obviously going to join that Madrid team, and it makes it scary. How are people going to fare against that Madrid team? Is there going to be that question of ego, of how Madrid are going to manage the ego of the big boys, the big small boys in there? Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo Goes, Oriana Chimeno, Eduardo Camavinga, Federico Valverde, and then of course with Luka Modric and then Toni Kroos. These are our top guys in the Madrid team. How are they going to fare with that when it comes to that team? And there's breaking news already. There's two things that Liverpool have done already. Liverpool, first of all, have contacted Ibanez, and now Ibanez is the agent of Xavi Alonso. The plan is simple. For them, they want to make sure they get Xavi Alonso in their team in the summer. And Liverpool, first of all, have contacted Ibanez. They want to start conversations over Xavi Alonso to see if they can price Xavi Alonso and bring him to Anfield over the summer. Like you already know, Xavi Alonso's team has been doing some brilliant job in Bayer Leverkusen, beating the German winning streak record in there, going on top of FC Bayern Munich, being one of the best teams in Europe as it stands now, and being quality all around for themselves in the German Bundesliga. And of course, with the departure of the Jurgen Klopp, it is true that Liverpool are looking for a replacement for Jurgen Klopp. And one of the first names that's on the table is with Xabi Alonso. And Xabi Alonso is doing it simple. He plans to make sure and choose between any of those clubs. For Madrid, it's out because, of course, Carlo Ancelotti has signed his contract extension. The problem is with Liverpool and FC Bayern Munich. Bayern are also going to be without Thomas Tuchel in the summer, and they'll be looking at replacing him with somebody that's quality. And Xabi Alonso's name is in there. Thomas Tuchel, however, whilst he's leaving FC Bayern Munich, is also eyeing a return to the English Premier League. And Manchester United is one of those teams. Of course, there's Barcelona on the horizon, but the main aim is for him to return to the English Premier League. And Manchester United look like the team that may be looking at Thomas Tuchel's direction to bring him back into England. Liverpool believe that right after Jurgen Klopp is leaving, there's supposed to be former sporting director Michael Edwards that should return for the new project that they are going to have at Anfield. I don't know how this is going to be because Chelsea were following Michael Edwards. They wanted to get Michael Edwards earlier. They pushed for him and it didn't work. Now Michael Edwards said that wanted to be on a sabbatical. They pushed for him for a very long time. It hasn't worked. and Liverpool are going back to him to get a job done. So there you have it. In there tonight, Chelsea plays a big game against Leeds United. It's a big mammoth game for Chelsea, and they ought to win. If they get that win, it shows how strong the team is going. And I think we'll wait to see how best that game goes. But of course, it's been a brilliant time with me here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Our afternoon edition, I'll say thank you to you, all the analysis, all the content, all the updates here on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing me. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I entreat you to do so and turn on notification. Bye bye.